Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. We are just 2.5 weeks away from the biggest week of the flat racing season, the biggest week of the sporting year in the Smith household. It's Royal Ascot, 5 days, 14th of June to the 18th, 35 races, 8 Group 1s. Christmas really does come early for me in June. In this video, I'm solo again. There's no Pine Man due to internet issues, but he'll be back soon with plenty more content, particularly on the darts. But on to Royal Ascot. Going to take an early look at some of the anti-post markets. I know the Derby isn't even out the way yet, but it does come really pretty quickly after the Derby, after Epsom, and it's the pinnacle of the flat racing season really for many. I'm going to look at the main contenders, particularly for the 8 Group 1 races. Like I say, there's less than 3 weeks to go, so it's always worth having an early look. And as always, we'll only be putting up bets that we back ourselves. There'll be plenty of pointers and talking about the main contenders. And to be honest, there's only a couple of bets at this stage that stand out, but that's how it is. If I'm not backing it, I certainly can't be tipping it. So straight into day one, starts with a bang. For me, the best day of racing in the whole calendar, in anywhere in the world really. 3 Group 1s, starts with a Group 1, 3 Group 1s plus the Coventry. So yeah, really cracking first day on the Tuesday. First up is the Queen Anne, where Baid is already a 4-11 favourite, prohibitive, some people may say. He looked better than ever when returning in the Lockinge in early May at Newbury. He won that easily by nearly over three lengths. Baid, he's pretty much the best horse in the world, isn't he? Come on, Baid. He's now unbeaten in 7 starts. The last 3 of those have been at Group 1 level. Comparisons to Frankel are plenty in recent weeks. I'm not particularly down with them, but you can see why. 7 in 7. He's winning his races easily and by a long way. He's now at Group 1 level. He's definitely the best in Europe, probably the best in the world. It was Frankel who displayed the best ever performance of all time in this very race, the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot in 2012. He won that by a ridiculous 12 lengths. Bayer has got some way to go to reach them heights, and he'll need some top-notch opponents to really cement his position as possibly the best since Frankel. But that's the last time that I'm going to mention those comparisons. He's the star of the season already. Like I say, still unbeaten. Lockinge, Queen Anne, possibly the Sussex Stakes, possibly the Juddmonte, and then we don't know where he might be after they could go the season unbeaten, and he might even come back next year as a 5-year-old, given that this time last year, Baid had only won a maiden or novice race at Leicester this time a year ago. He didn't make his debut until a 3-year-old, so he's come such a long way in a short space of time. The Lockinge was good form really from Baid. He's got some real good form yardsticks in behind. Real World's a Group 1 winner in France last year. Mother Earth's a Group 1 winner. Alcohol Free won a couple of Group 1s, including the Sussex Stakes. He had all of them toiling in behind miles away. So the question is regarding the Queen Anne with Baid at 4-11. Is there anything you'd bet each way against it? And I think there is an each way angle actually, and I think that's Master of the Seas, trained by Charlie Appleby for Godolphin. He's 10-1. He was 11-1 earlier in the week before a few of them have come out. Real World's in there at third favourite, 12-1. His trainer Saeed bin Sarora is on record saying that they, for Royal Ascot, would bypass the Queen Anne and go to a different race just to avoid Baid. So you've got to question mark Real World's participation in this week. I think Master of the Seas is a better horse than the likes of Chindit, Order of Australia, Saffron Beach. I think Master of the Seas in this field, as it stands now, there's 15 entered in the Queen Anne at the moment, probably be less than that on the day. Master of the Seas is clearly the second best. Now, I'm on record of saying that Master of the Seas is probably going to throw a race away at some stage this season. It might be this one. I just think he's a bit quirky, Master of the Seas. But he's done all that's asked of him so far this season. He's come out, he's won a Group 3 against McGallen this year. It was 5-4. He's had one start this year, won it. All roads lead to the Queen Anne. He will run. He's 10-1 each way. I think he's going to be smaller than that on the day. I think that's reasonably straightforward to me. The second race is the Coventry Stakes, Group 2. Usually the best 2-year-old race of the week at Royal Ascot, over 6 furlongs. It's not an anti-post race for me, but it's certainly one that I'm excited for. And if the 3 main contenders at the top of the market turn up, it could be an absolute belter, this Coventry. Noble Style, Persian Force, and Blackbeard are all available at around the 4-1 mark. Noble Styles had the one start at Ascot over 5 furlongs. I think it was for Charlie Appleby Godolphin. Won easy, like visually very, very impressive, quickened up nicely. He looked a Royal Ascot horse all over. He got an RPR on debut of 105 Noble Style. That hardly ever happens to any horses getting 3 figures on debut. It's very, very rare. Kingman is the one that stands out to me that got a 3-figure RPR on debut. I think there was one last year actually. Duban, trained by John Gosden, didn't really go on to major heights, but he got an RPR of over 100 on debut. Noble Style achieved that. He definitely, to me, looks the one to beat. If that race was today and they were 3-1 each, even a little bit shorter, I'd definitely be on Noble Style of those three. Blackbeard is unbeaten in 3 starts for Aidan O'Brien. He's already a Group 3 winner. He's got the form in the book in comparison to Noble Style, who's only had the one start in novice company. Blackbeard has recently won at the Curragh over Irish Guineas weekend. He was the second favourite that day, and he beat a Good Girl Lions horse there as well. So he looked impressive there, Blackbeard, in extended his unbeaten run to 3. He's definitely one for Aidan O'Brien. He has the option of racing over 5 or 6 furlongs at Ascot, though, so he's not a definite runner in the Coventry. I hope he is, because it would make it a cracking race. And the final one to mention in the Coventry is Persian Force. He's unbeaten now in 2 starts. He won the first race of the whole flat season, the Brocklesby for Richard Hannon. Then he returned to Newbury in a conditions race. I think there was only 4 runners, say, but there was a couple of good-looking horses in behind, and he won that with ease as well. He looks really exciting, Persian Force. And Ammo Racing, as we know, have got some really good 2-year-olds this year, where Ross O'Ryan, friend of the channel, will be riding and could potentially there get his first Royal Ascot win. Also on the Tuesday, is the Group 1 for 3-year-olds on the Tuesday is the St James's Palace Stakes over a mile, round the bend this mile is. So the Queen Anne's over a straight mile, St James's Palace round a bend for the 3-year-old colts. Charlie Appleby dominates the market with the first 3 in the market, as he should do. Charlie Appleby has achieved history this year. He's won the English, French and Irish 2,000 guineas with 3 different horses. Caribou obviously won the Newmarket renewal. Native Trail won the Irish 2,000 guineas. And in between, sandwiched in between there, Modern Games won the French equivalent. Probably all 3 of them probably aren't going to run here. You'd be very surprised if all 3 of them did run against each other. 2 of them might. Caribou and Native Trail might. That would be a rematch of Newmarket, where Native Trail was the favourite and Caribou was the second favourite, and Caribou got the job done that day, and they were drawn on opposite sides of the track. Some people think that form could be reversed, maybe not. I thought Caribou was shockingly good. He was shocking to me because I knew he was a good horse. It was his first start this season, and he's won a classic, and he virtually hit the front too early at Newmarket. He was on the bridle going past horses. I think he could have won by further if he was weighted with a little bit longer by James Doyle, but James said that he could feel Luxembourg was threatening him on the outside, so he pushed the button at that time. But mightily impressive, absolute tank of a traveller, Caribou. He showed flashes of it last year, not at as high a level as Native Trail last year, but he really cemented himself as the one to beat. It's going to be fascinating this season if Caribou, Native Trail, and Modern Games and other milers of the 3-year-old generation into open company later on in the season clash with each other. Really a race to genuinely look forward to is the St James's Palace on day 1. I can't say much further than those guys, to be honest. My Prospero is a horse for William Haggis, who's notched up a couple of wins already this season, but not to the level of the boys in blue. They are the ones to beat, and if 2 or maybe even 3 of them turn up, it will be a cracker, the St James's Palace. Also on the Tuesday is the 5-furlong sprint Group 1, the King Stand Stakes. Now, similar comments are going to apply to this race and the Platinum Jubilee, which takes place on the Saturday, whereby a number of the horses at the top of each respective market could run in either race. They've got the option to run over 5 or 6. There doesn't seem to be any standout 5-furlong specialist that you can really say, like Batash, he's only definitely going to run in the King Stand. The likes of Golden Pal, Nature Ship, A Case of You, Romantic Proposal, King's Lynn, who won recently, they've all got option to run either 5 or 6 furlong. The one in the King Stand from a UK perspective, and it is difficult because at the top of the market, Golden Pal, trained by Wesley Ward, I've not got a clue about the American form, although I have heard of Golden Pal. Nature Ship, I've got no clue at all. Nature Strip, sorry, who's meant to be coming over from Australia. I've got no clue about the Australian form. So it's difficult to have an anti-post bet, but at the moment, I'm looking at Twilight Calls. It's going to be fast at Ascot, and he needs it as quick as you can get it. Twilight Calls needs it. He stays a little bit further than 5 furlongs, which I think you need to do for Ascot with the stiff finish. He's 16-1 Twilight Calls. He's done everything but win at Haydock over the weekend just gone against Kings Lynn, where the ground would have been way too soft for what he needs it. He needs it absolutely rattling quick, and in the middle of June, he should get that. So Twilight Calls I'll be looking at from a British perspective, but I can't say it with much confidence because on RPRs he is at the moment a long way behind the raiders from America and Australia. If they turn up, they're going to make the market, and it makes it difficult for people like me who don't follow the Australian and American form to have a serious bet in it because I don't know how good they are. So that's the King Stand, and that wraps up the Tuesday thus far. Obviously, there's handicaps every day of the week, but we've not really got the entries or anything like that yet. So look out for content closer to the time in regards to handicaps and the supporting races. On day 2, the feature is the Prince of Wales Stakes over 10 furlongs for horses 4-year-old and older. Looks an absolute belter. If this race shapes up as it is looking now, this could easily be the race of the whole season. Brilliant renewal on paper at this stage. There's 13 in it at this stage. Let's hope that most of them hold their entry and go ahead. We've got last year's English Derby winner, Adair. He's in there, Ante-Post 3-1 favourite. He won the King George as well last year. We've got last year's Japanese Derby winner, Sheara. Don't know a lot about that horse. Also won in Dubai over the winter as well. We've got last year's Judmont winner, Mishrif. He's third favourite, 6-1. The 2020 winner of this race, Adabe, who actually runs on Thursday this week, 26th of May at Sandown. We'll see how fit he may be. We've got the highest rated horse in Ireland, State of Rest. Lord North won the 2020 renewal of this race. He's in there as well. He's about 8-1. Got beat in the Irish Tatstall's Irish Gold Cup over the weekend, as did State of Rest. And that was a race won by Alan Kerr, trained by William Haggis. Alan Kerr's not actually entered in the Prince of Wales Stakes, so that's a shame that piece of form doesn't come over from the Irish Tatstall's Gold Cup to the Prince of Wales. But the other leading protagonist from there could well run as well. I think Bay Bridge is a fascinating contender. He runs at Sandown this week as well. So yeah, the Prince of Wales Estate could be an absolute belter. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's considerably deeper than even the ones I've mentioned because there's Group 1 winners, Broome, Mother Earth and Order of Australia, all trained by Aidan O'Brien. All have won Group 1s. They've all got an entry in this race. They might not all run. They're all 25-1 or bigger, so it just shows the depth of the Prince of Wales Estate. It's certainly no better at this stage, but it could be the race of the season without any question. On to the Thursday, and still the feature of the race for the whole meeting in many people's eyes, the Ascot Go Cup, the stay-in race. Over 2.5 miles, not usually my kind of party, as regular viewers will know. Stradivarius is going to be the headline act in this race. He tried to make it 4 in a row last year, 4 Gold Cups in a row, which would have matched Yates' achievement. He fell short last year, Stradivarius, from what was a poor ride on that occasion. I think that's widely accepted. He's still hanging around at the age of 8. He's coming back for another go to try and retain his title and make it 4 in total. ITV montages will be in full flow. And round every corner that you take, they're going to be talking about Stradivarius and this legend. I've never really got on board with it, to be honest. That the Stayers division bores me, and the Stradivarius loving bores me. I think he's not as good as what he used to be. Some people like it that he's still around and still trying his thing, and it would be a great story if he was to retain his title, but it doesn't excite me. This for the people that way inclined would be an anti-post market because True Shan, who would probably be favourite on this race if it was ran on soft ground. Almost certainly would be favourite if it was run on soft ground. But he was a non-runner late last year because the ground wasn't soft enough. We're in the middle of June. Of course, it's unlikely that you're going to have soft ground. So, it's always difficult from an anti-post perspective. But Trushan's in there at 7-2, joint favourite with Kiprios, who appears to be the new stayer on the block for Aidan O'Brien. He's only 4, still Kiprios. He's still quite lightly raced. He's impressed in 2 starts this year. He's been campaigned as the Ballydoyle Gold Cup horse, running in races like the Seville Bag and the Vintage Crop. They're the kind of races that Aidan O'Brien farms over in Ireland at Leopardstown and Navan in preparation for the Gold Cup. It's always a step up for the younger horses, because there really isn't any races over 2.5 miles on the flat at this level. So usually when the new kids on the block come here, Stradivarius once upon a time would have done it. Kiprios is coming here. He's going to be trying 2.5 miles for the first time. He's only ever gone 14 furlongs. He's now going to have to go 25. So it's going to be a big step up for him. But yeah, he may well take it into his stride. 20 furlongs, sorry, not 25. But yeah, the Kiprios is one to look out for. Like I say, it's not a division that excites me, but this does look a good renewal. There's some in there. I mean, we've got Princess Zoe, who's won a Group 1 in France before. Scope, who was decent on his return at Newbury. Mojo Star finished second in the Derby last year. Richard Hannon has said ever since that he would end up being a cup horse. He could well be here. Cleveland won the Chester Cup. He would have to take a big step up, but you wouldn't put it past him. So in comparison to usual, it is more exciting than I would usually deem it, the Gold Cup market this year. On to the Friday, where there's 2 Group 1s, starting with the Commonwealth Cup for 3-year-old sprinters. It's only been in the calendar since 2015, and I think it's been an absolute revelation. A Group 1 for 3-year-olds over 6 furlongs is just what was needed. I've always thought the gap between 3-year-old only racers and open age company is the most profound in sprint races. I think putting 3-year-olds in the likes of the Numthorpe and the July Cup and like that is a big leap. I think it's the transition from 3-year-old company to open age is easier at the longer distances. I just think the sprinters are more experienced, hardened. You need to be straight out the gate. It's boys and men really. So the Commonwealth Cup is very much what was needed for horses that were obviously talented as 2-year-olds, but didn't quite make it into milers or classic contenders, and they can come this Commonwealth Cup route. I really love this race, really do. Perfect Power is your favourite in there. He's 9-2. I don't think that's short enough, to be honest. I think he should be standout clear favourite. He sets the standards for me. Yes, they tried to make him into a Guineas horse at Newmarket, and it didn't work out. But they certainly didn't bottom him by the looks of it by trying him in that. It was quite clear early on. It was clear to a lot of people, including me beforehand, that he wouldn't stay a mile. But it was quite clear early on that he wasn't going to stay a mile. The race wasn't suited to him, so Christophe Soumillon went easy on him with the Commonwealth Cup in mind. I think that was the right thing to do. He didn't appear to have a hard race. He won as easy as you like at Newbury over 7 furlongs in the Greenham in April. I think that just showed that he was trained on as a 3-year-old. That's all you wanted to know. I mean, he won 2 Group 1s last year, Perfect Power, both in exciting fashion, one in France and the Middle Park at Newmarket over 6 furlongs. He's got the perfect profile from Perfect Power for the Commonwealth Cup. Yeah, he should this is the race for him. El Caballo won the Sandy Lane at Haydock recently. That's turned into a race since the Commonwealth Cup's been around in 2015. The Sandy Lane Stakes has turned into a real genuine top trial for this race. The winner of that's got a good record in this race previously. Harry Angel didn't win this race but went close, and Quiet Reflection and others. Go Bears Go went off favourite for the Sandy Lane Stakes but stumbled badly out the stall, so don't write him off. El Caballo is around 7-1. Go Bears Go's around 10-1. Go Bears Go has Ascot form from this year as well, so I wouldn't write Go Bears Go off, but I think they're quite closely matched towards the top of the market. Tenebrism should be running in this race. She's a 10-1, 12-1 shot to win this race, but I fear they're going to try her again over a mile in the Coronation, the race that I'm going to come on to next. They shouldn't be, in my opinion. She won the Cheveley Park last year over 6 furlongs at Newmarket in exciting fashion. Then they tried her in the 1,000 Guineas. She went off 11-4, got no way near winning that. But Aidan O'Brien, the noises he's been making since then is they're going to have one more go over a mile. I disagree with that, but I'm not a champion trainer like Aidan O'Brien. Should be a really interesting contender if turning up in the Commonwealth Cup. I just don't think she will. Eraz and Tiber Flow battled out a finish in the Carnarvon Stakes at Newbury, another trial for this race. It's not quite up to the standard of the Sandy Lane traditionally or form-wise, but it's a decent race nonetheless. They're 16-1 the pair. One who ran in that race at Newbury, the Carnarvon Stakes, and is an absolute mad price for this, like 66-1, any price you like, is Rizzig, ridden by Holly Doyle. It was just his third start at Newbury, and I just thought he was drawn away from the front two, finished fourth in the end, drawn away from the front two, I just think he'd look more suited by the stiffer finish at Newmarket. He's by No Nay Never. No Nay Never progeny and the sire of No Nay Never, I think Scat Daddy. They have a good record at Ascot. I think that's worth noting. Scat Daddies and grandsons of Scat Daddies at Ascot definitely have a good record. So yeah, Rizzig is 66-1. I mean, I've had a couple of quid each way. As I always say, I wouldn't put a bet up on here if I'd not done it myself, and I have done it. 66-1. Yet to win in 3 career starts. He's going to have to take a leap forward. I just think he's going to be more suited to Ascot and ran a pretty eye-catching race at Newbury. So that's one to look forward to there. The other Group 1 on the Friday is the Coronation Stakes, similar to the St James's Palace Stakes, for the fillies over a round mile at Ascot, 3-year-old fillies. So you get a lot of horses that have ran in 1,000 guineas both sides of the Irish Sea. And that's where we'll start, because Homeless Songs is 6-4 for the Coronation Stakes, and rightly she should be, because she waltzed in the Irish 1,000 guineas in the third weekend in May. Very, very impressive, awesome performance. Probably one of the performances of the season so far, alongside Caribou, you would say. She drifted like a barge on the day, Homeless Songs. She was something like 13-8, 15-8 on the Friday. And come Sunday off time for the Irish 1,000 guineas, she was in the region of 6-1, maybe even bigger on the exchange. It was a wild price, but she won as easy as you like by 5.5 lengths. Massively, massively impressive. She's going to be favourite for this race, there's no question. Homeless Songs is likely to face filly's mile winner from last year, In Spiral. In Spiral was the 1,000 guineas favourite over the winter, but didn't make it. She met a setback in Spiral, and this looks like being her first start of the season, so it would be really interesting to see them two face off. They're quite closely matched on Racing Post ratings and such like. But yeah, In Spiral, first start of the season, she's going to have a work cut out in order to get the better of Homeless Songs in the Coronation. And Cachet, the English 1,000 guineas winner, is likely to be in there as well. She went very close to winning the French equivalent, so she'll continue to be underestimated in the betting. You would have thought. She's 7-1 currently. Cachet, she's not quite for me, but that's not a surprise. I can see her continually being underestimated for George Bowie, and someone like a James Doyle is going to pick up a spear ride on her, and she sets a decent standard. I'm not quite sure she's going to stay the mile out truly at Ascot, and that might well be her undoing. Tenebrism, I mentioned earlier, she's probably going to run in this race. I think that's the wrong idea, and she's a big price to win it as a result of that. Others to look out for, Discoveries. I was strongly on her at Newmarket for the 1,000 guineas, and to be honest, she disappointed me and many others. She was 7th. Yeah, she just didn't look at the races that day, beaten 5 lengths. But what I would say about Discoveries, her sister won this race. Alpha Centauri won the Coronation Stakes about 2 or 3 years ago. Wildly impressive. If the conditions turn fast, which they may well do at Ascot in the middle of June for obvious reasons, Discoveries will certainly be of interest, but I doubt she will be 12-1 if the ground turned up fast. I wouldn't back her now. Anti-Post connections have been pretty quiet on her since her disappointment in the Irish 1,000 in the English 1,000 guineas. But yeah, I think she could well turn up if the ground's pretty fast. Finally, on to the Saturday. Similar comments on the Platinum Jubilee. In regards to what I said on the King Stand, we've got horses like Home Affairs, Campanelle, Home Affairs from Australia, Nature Strip from Australia, Campanelle from America, Golden Pals in there from America. The shortest price horse in this from a British perspective is Creative Force at 9-1. Really, a really good horse, but has not been seen since has only had one start since October. That was in Maidan in March. Hasn't been seen since. Creative Force is a definite contender. But again, it's just difficult to put a horse up or have a bet with any confidence Anti-Post when I've just not got a clue. A, where the international runners are going to run. Are they going to run in this race or the King Stand? And B, I don't know anything about the form anyway. But it's great that they're coming over. It is really good that, the Australians have been saying for long enough that their sprinters are the best in the world. Well, Chris Waller, we're going to find out because he's bringing 2 or 3 horses over. Apparently, we're going to find out how good they are. Wesley Ward will always come over and talk about how quick and how good his horses are. So it'll certainly be interesting. But from a betting perspective, Anti-Post and on the day, it probably isn't going to interest me. So that's a quick run through. It's just going to leave us with a bit of a conclusion as to the bets I fancy. As I've gone along, I've said Master of the Seas each way 10-1 for the Queen Anne. I think he'll go off shorter. I think he's clearly the second best in the race. Is he going to beat Baid? No, I don't think anything will beat Baid. Possibly even this year, never mind in this race. But I think at 10 to 1 he's going to go off shorter than 10 to 1 each way, 3 places. There might not be many runners on the day as well. There's only 15 now. There could be 6 or 7 even on the day. Hopefully there's more. In the Commonwealth Cup, Perfect Power at 9 to 2. I've not backed him, but I think 9 to 2 isn't short enough, if I'm honest. The one I have backed in that race is Rizzig, 66 to 1 each way in the Commonwealth Cup. For the reasons given earlier, I think he's going to be better at Ascot, for the track and for his breeding as well. And I thought he ran a race full of promise at Newbury under the radar. Yes, he's going to have to take a massive step forward. So we like to get our anti-post videos up early, just having a chat about the runners, riders, the main contenders. Let us know in the comments below who your best bets are for Royal Ascot, and we're sure to be back with more content as the big meeting draws closer with some proper selections, some proper bets and some proper opinion. Thanks for tuning in. Speak soon.